All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Today we're gonna go ahead and jump into Lightroom, go over some tips and tricks that I use on a daily basis, some things that, increase my productivity, enhance my workflow, and just give me the overall edit that I'm looking for. There might be some basic things that you already know, like shortcuts, and then there might be some things that you weren't sure Lightroom did. We'll get into a bunch of things here, so hopefully you enjoy this video. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button, if that's what you're into. And if you got any questions or comments, go ahead and drop them below, and I will get back to you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Lightroom. All right, tip number one, we're gonna be talking about brushes and presets and how it'll basically streamline your editing process, and you'll be able to fine-tune things with just the click of a brush. We'll go over two instances of this scenario on kind of the different ways that you can incorporate this into your workflow. First shot here, got this guy in looks like an old kind of Bel Air, I believe, throwing a peace sign out the window. Pretty cool shot, got it in downtown Houston. But I'd like to kind of center focus the car, kind of dim everything else around it. So basically I'll bring up a radial gradient, put that kind of over the car, spread it out, make sure the feather's good, open it up. Make sure you invert it so it'll leave the car in focus. And then basically just want to bring down the exposure, bring up the contrast, bring down the highlights, shadows, just kind of dim everything else out so that the focus is on the car, right? Maybe bring down the texture a little bit, dehaze, bring it up. And as you can see now, from original to new, just kind of puts all that focus on there. So basically you can create this as kind of a brush, so it's preset. So you'll just come up here to custom, scroll on down to save current settings as new preset, and just label it, center focus. I already made a preset of it, so center focus, create. So now, say we go to another image, let's go to this one right here. Basically all you'll do is bring up, once again, that radial gradient, make your circle, invert it, then you'll come to custom preset, scroll down to center focus. All you gotta do is maybe adjust the feathering a little bit, kind of make it to fit this specific image, mess with it a little bit if you'd like, but other than that, you got a quick preset for center focus. And that way, if you want a quick center focus thrown on a shot, you don't gotta mess with the parameters every single time. You got a quick preset, and you can utilize it for other things like portraits as well. So let's take a look at that method. All right, so this is a model shoot I did a while back. Say I wanted to just kind of smoothen out the skin a little bit of the face. You'll basically come up, create a mask. Lightroom has made it extremely easy now. Instead of having to brush the whole face, you could just select create mask, people, go to the person, select the attribute you want. So face, skin, create mask. And then basically you want to kind of tone down the texture a little bit, bring down the clarity just a tad, bring down the dehaze just a little bit. That looks good, maybe a little less in clarity. Okay, looks good. Maybe adjust the whites just a little bit. Okay, perfect. So say I want to apply this face mask to multiple pictures. Instead of having to do that every single time, you just come up here to custom. Once again, save current settings as preset. And you could do model, shoot, smooth face, save the preset. So now, anytime you want to create that mask, you just select the mask, create new mask, select people, person, face, skin, create, then just go up to custom once again, and you have model, shoot, smooth face. At a click of a button, saves time, saves energy, saves hassle. I use this feature a ton. Anytime I do a model shoot, say it's a specific model shoot and you have two people and the way you edit their face skin is a little different, or the way you edit their eyes is a little different, I'll basically create model 1 face skin, model 2 face skin, or model 1 eyes, model 2 eyes, save that preset, and now when I'm going through all these photos to edit them, it's just a quick tap and boom, it's complete. So definitely saves time and energy, and it works for a ton of different ranges. You can do it for lights, you can do it for skies, you can do it for many things. Whatever you find yourself repetitively doing the same kind of thing for, just create that brush, throw it on, and you know, just saves you editing time and makes it that much simpler. So let's move on to the next tip. Tip number 2, say you got a photo looking a little grainy. As you see, this shot here was shot at 5,000 ISO. So got a bunch of grain in the sky, and I mean, it really just looks kind of like a basic shot. This was a throwaway shot in London. Gonna go ahead and clean it up, get rid of that grain. So first, I'll just hit this auto just to kind of bring it out, and you can really start to see the grain there once you highlight it properly, expose it properly. So basically what I'm gonna do is come down here to the Luminance noise reduction, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up. And as you can tell, as I'm bringing it up, the noise slowly starts to go away. So about 55, maybe bring the detail down just a little bit, the contrast a tad bit up. Then I'm gonna bring the color up as well, take out some of the smoothness, and as you can see, the noise is pretty much gone. Now it is a little overexposed for my liking, so now what I'll come up here and do is bring down the blacks, bring down the shadows a little bit, bring down that exposure just a tad, bump up the contrast, maybe throw in a little gradient filter at the bottom, drop the exposure down so it kind of focuses more on the buildings in the background, bring up the contrast, drop the highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, and straighten it up. And as you can see, it's looking pretty good. Maybe bring the tone curve up a tad and then drop down the blacks there, maybe flatten it just a tad. And as you can see, went from this grainy kind of, you know, blown out ISO to smoothed out, actually kind of saved the shot. So that Luminance tab really does a good job. The only thing you got to watch out for is if you're taking photos of people or doing portraits or a photo shoot, that Luminance will really start to smooth out the skin and lose the details of the face. But for landscape photography, for kind of buildings and architectural shots, it works out quite well. As you can see, it really toned down the grain in the sky, but I mean, still left pretty good detail in the buildings. Works out pretty well. Get the grain out, unless you like the grain, of course. And yeah, that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 has to do with a little bit of masking. If you create a new mask based off of the luminance range, and we'll go ahead and select, say, the building, because it's pretty lit up, it'll basically only mask out that luminance. And if you come up here to the top and really lower down that luminance, or really bring in that luminance range, it'll kind of tighten up that mask. And as you can see, the red, it's just kind of masking out all like the real overly highlighted areas, these string lights, the building, all the lights of the building. So basically that will allow me to maybe bring down the dehaze a little bit, give it that nice little hazy look to the lights, kind of like that dreamy effect, to bring down the clarity, the texture, maybe increase the exposure just a tad, bring up the highlights on it just a bit, maybe the whites, bring up the dehaze just down a little bit more. And there you go, you get that nice little dreamy effect throughout all these lights, that nice hazy dreamy effect. So that's definitely one way you can use it. In other instances as well, you can select the darks, the luminance, for instance, luminance range, you could select the darks, and as you can see, it just gets all of the blacks, and then you can kind of tighten that up to where it's just the darkest areas of the image. You can either expose them up a little more, bring them down a little more. All in all, great tool. If you have windows of a building, you can select that luminance range of the windows in the building and maybe cool it down, warm it up a little bit. Overall, just change the look. So not a lot of people use this mask feature or know about it. So it's definitely nice when you want to isolate just certain areas without having to take your brush and, you know, string out every light or string out every type of luminance you're looking for. So yeah, tip number 3. All right, tip number 4, there's a quick one. It's basically messing with the tone curve adjustments. I know you guys have seen those shots where it kind of has a flat look to it, kind of maybe makes it a little vintage, but just kind of tones down the shininess of the shot, gives a little grit. So this is a shot I took in London. I have a little edit on it, nothing much, just kind of a quick base edit, but see how it kind of just looks shiny and just kind of like a little too sharp. So basically, if you come down here to the lower end of the tone curve where the shadows are, you basically just drag that up and you can see it's starting to flat out the image. If you go too high, it really just crushes out the blacks, but if you bring it up just a tad, it gives it that nice flat kind of film grainy look that you see a lot of nowadays. I typically do it on a lot of my images just because I don't like it to look overly sharp, especially on my street photography. But as you can see, gives it that nice kind of film look. So there you go, tip number 4. Let's move on to the next one. All right guys, for the last and final tip, we got the sharpening slider and how you properly sharpen your images. So basically, if you increase the amount, it's gonna start sharpening the whole photo. Right? But say you don't want the whole photo to be sharp, you just kind of want certain aspects of it. Well, if you come down here to the masking slider, hold the option button and start to slide the slider, you'll see it goes black and white. And whatever is white will be sharp, whatever is black will be left out. So if I go to around 75, you can see the wheels, the lights, kind of just little things on the car will be sharpened, and the rest in black will stay the same, which allows you to just get kind of certain aspects of the shot to pop, which makes it look pretty cool. So there we go. We got the tire, the light, a little bit of the paint, just kind of pulls it out, separates it, leaves the rest of it standard while making those little aspects sharp and pop. So that is how you properly sharpen your shots. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did learn something, drop a comment. If you have anything that you're not sure of, or questions or concerns, comments, queries, thoughts, go ahead and drop it in the comments section below. I'll make sure to get back to you. And if you guys like these videos and you're actually learning something from them, let me know in the comments if I should continue making them, continue making maybe part 1, part 2, make it a series, and kind of just explaining how I go through and edit my photos and maybe little tips and tricks along the way. I'm also thinking about doing one for Premiere Pro. I'm not a pro, but got a lot of little shortcuts and things I do for my workflow as well. So yeah, leave a comment below if you want me to expand on this little series or not. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a good fucking rest of your day.